So the next thing we're going to be doing, this is the last piece of this page, is to build out this carousel component. So we'll be dropping that in. Again, we're going back and forth between the lacerte page that's in the portfolio folder and the page that we're building out to replicate it. So you'll see me switch back and forth, and that's what you're seeing when I switch back and forth between those two. Those are the pages. So here's the carousel. Just underneath that, there are two more items on this page. There's a grid responsive that has a couple of CTA components in it, and we have a text component just underneath there. So let's go through and go ahead and build those out on our page. So we're back here on our page. Underneath this, we're going to do right-click New, drop in a container. Inside that container, we're going to put a carousel component. So we'll right-click New. It's on the responsive, and eventually you'll learn all these just from having used them. So there's the carousel. And when it drops in, by default, it adds in this text component up above, and then it has just 3 slides as a default. If you wanted to make changes to this configuration, you could do that up here in the carousel edit. Click the edit, and there's a number of different things you can do here. Add to the total slides up to 7, number of slides to display at once up to 3, and then the default slide to display. So if you wanted it to click into slide number 2 to start out, then you could set that here. There's some additional settings here that we're not going to touch now, but there's always information on the CMS Online Help Guide. So we're going to leave these defaults because that's going to work just fine for us. And then here, we'll just do the same thing we did the last time, where we come over here, we're just going to cut and paste this text over. Here, so right click and open up the rich text editor, drop that in. Again, this is going to look a little bit different, but we'll come back and clean that up. And then here we have the choice, you know, if we're going to replicate what that design is on the other side, which we are going to do, we just have to go through and determine what that is, what this design looks like, and what it is that's making that design. So again, when you go through, you can navigate through, even in edit mode, these carousels to figure out what's in here. I'm pretty sure that's just a text component that's in each one of those. So we're just going to go ahead and lay those in right here. So we'll show you how you do that. So I've clicked on the first one. I've got my green bounding box. I'm going to click New. And drop in a text component. And again, to save a step, I'm just going to go copy. Then I'll click in the next box. I can use the buttons there and paste. Or I can use the arrows and go to the next one and paste there as well. So I have all those dropped in there right now. Okay, so we've edited our, we've gone ahead and dropped in that text there. The next thing we're going to do is add in a grid responsive and those CTAs. By now you should be very comfortable with this, so it would be right-click New. We're going to grab that grid responsive and drop it in. So and let's go ahead and take a look at what we're doing. We can see there are 4 columns here. So we know that's going to be 4, 4, 4. We know that's going to be 4 containers, but we can also see that they're equal distance, so I'm going to guess that that's 3, 3, 3, at least in terms of the desktop view. So it is 3, 3, 3. We can tell in the mobile view those are going to be stacked as rows, and then in the tablet view it's 2, 4, 4, 2. So let's go ahead and drop those in as well. So again, one of the first things with this is we want to make sure we've got the unique containers and are going to correspond with the number that we have. We have 333. Tablet view was 2-4-4-2. And again, we can see there's really only 2 things in that entire grid that are functioning. It's the CTAs, and those in this arrangement are just in the center 2 containers. The other 2 are spacers. So in that tablet view, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit our configuration there. And there we go. We're going to drop in a CTA here, responsive. Excuse me. The core, put it in the middle, and we're going to copy it and paste it over here as well. And we can go through and see that these are configured differently. Also, again, on the lacerte page, these are styled slightly differently, so don't be concerned if they're not exactly, if they don't look exactly the same as what you're coming up with. So on this edit, we can see that, we've got the names here, we have some links. And really all I'm going to do at this point is just go ahead and just copy this straight across. And we can leave, since it's not really a functioning page at this point, we can just leave that as intuit.com for the CTA link. You can make the first one secondary if you'd like. We're also going to want to center that, so let's center it up. But just to make them a little bit different from one another, because that is somewhat how the design is put together, we'll go ahead and do that. Try for free. Again, we'll need to center that up. So that's, and again, so the purpose here really isn't to absolutely replicate that design. It's just to get you familiar with using these. I would encourage you just to open these up and go through and take a look at what some of these different configurations will do and what some of the defaults are, just so you get used to it. And then those will become second nature to you. So, and again, there's information on the CMS Online Help Guide. So the last thing we're going to look at on this page, and it'll be the final item, everything else is complete here, is this text component down here. I think it's unique the way it's kind of configured here. So let's, I'm not going to have you build it out. You can if you'd like. We're not going to build it out on our page, but we're back on the lacerte page, and we're just going to open it up and take a look at it. So in the, you've got this text sitting on this brown background. So the way they did this was they dropped the background image actually has that brown in it, or it actually has this image in it, which I think is kind of a nice, simple design and a nice, effective way to put this together. So again, on the image tab, on the background image tab, you've got this image dropped in here. And also we've got a rich text, we've got a text component sitting in here. So if we click edit, we can open this up and take a look at it. And at first glance, it's going to look like there's no text in here. But actually, if you look, this is white text sitting on a white background. There's a couple of different things you can do with this. You can, if you wanted to go through and make some changes to it, you could go through and change the color of the text by this apply color piece right here. We can also see there's a link in this part of the text. So you might be able to go through and check and see if there's a hyperlink that's set up. It looks like there is. The other thing you might want to do is just open up the source edit and see what kind of editing. And you can see in here that there's been a color added to this text. So if you were to go through and actually try to make a change to this text, it's going to be a little bit difficult to override this, this code that's in here. So, and again, I only point this out to let you know that sometimes you'll see text just like this and think, oh, I'm just going to go through and make an edit to it. But really, and you'll open it up, and this is one of the things that really does hang people up. The colors, it looks like there's no text in there. So if you highlight it, and then you can make some changes to it. But you also are going to want to check the source edit and see if there isn't, some sort of style that's been added to it. So that pretty much wraps this page up. So we've gone through and we've built out every section. And the next part of the training, we're going to go through and just clean up a little bit of the text that's in here and maybe delete out some of those interspace components. But your page should be looking very similar to something like this. And again, as we've gone through and edited this page, the emphasis really hasn't been on making it exactly the same as the lacerte page. It's more about getting your hands on this and seeing how these components work together and how you can make some modifications in the components and the containers.